Hello and welcome once again to our living room. My hair gets spikier every day, doesn't it? Do you remember the thin one in Laurel and Hardy? He was able to do his hair like that as well. It takes
Actually,
a lot of practice and not even a bit of gel. It's quite a remarkable sight, do you think?
how did you manage to do that hairstyle?
It's magic.
And I didn't notice it. Oh dear.
Anyway, here we are again, and the title of today's episode is Week 4 Rhymes with Bore. It is the start of Week 4 of lockdown here in the UK. This is our fourth Tuesday, sitting here rabbiting on from how's it feel?
It feels okay.
Whoa!
Going bananas, being indoors, but hey ho. You did have your walk today, I didn't.
I certainly did, down to the old convenience store on the corner, because we've got to have fresh fruit and veg, haven't we? Really, I mean, where would we be without that? Really, the frozen raspberries don't cut it really.
I don't mind. You can always make them in a smoothie, and it's nice.
You're very tolerant. Anyway, so the good news today is that so far the peak of this thing has been on Friday, and today saw 200 fewer deaths than on Friday, which was just a couple of days ago. So the staying at home is helping. It's dampening
working.
This thing down, and we've got to keep doing that. Hello and a very good evening to my very good friend Rocker Kev. Thank you for joining us today. Yes, the Rock Show will be kind of more or less on time. She's told me, the boss has told me to finish early, and hello, it's very nice to have your company. How things been at home today? So yes, I'm under starters orders to finish at about 1:45, which gives me time then to go over there and set up all the gubbins for the next part of the evening. But
I'm loving your hair.
it's really quite something, isn't it? It takes a lot of whatever to get it quite like that. But yeah, I see us as Lauren Hardy, with me being the one who goes. And you have to say that's another fine mess you got me into.
Okay, yes. Why are you implying? Am I putting on weight?
No, that you're the smart one.
Okay.
And he was the wacky one. And I think that nobody would disagree with that. Paul McCartney is in the news today. He has called for those Chinese wet markets to be banned because of coronavirus. We heard yesterday that the one in Wuhan is back up and running again. I don't know whether that's correct. He calls those markets medieval, and I agree with him. They are barbaric. They're only for the elite anyway. It's not that they're not markets that ordinary folk can afford to go into. So let's get that stopped, because we don't want another one of these in 10 years' time. It's causing immense mayhem. There are 1 million people here, 3 million people here now in the UK relying on food banks. There have been nearly 1 million more applications for that emergency money, universal credit. That's the name of it. And come on, we need to make sure this never ever happens again.
Catches off guard. Yeah.
Absolutely. And our government has warned of tough times ahead. But I think we're turning a corner. It's not time to relax yet and go and play footy in the car park. I was crossing. Hello, Crusher, Rock Hard, Rock Heavy, and Rock Animal, and we were just talking about Macca actually. So Paul McCartney, who has condemned the markets in Wuhan, and he says all the markets like that across China, the so-called wet markets, should be closed to make sure we don't get all locked up again, because we're going a bit insane here with it being week 4 now. And enough, I think, is enough. Now, what's a biobank? Is it a place where you put your bio money?
Not quite.
Is it a store of special kinds of washing powder that glow in the dark?
I assume it's anything to do with biological evidence or for...
It's a bank. It's a huge store of DNA. Hello, Ed. Thanks for joining us today. The biobank is the most ginormous store of DNA, and they're using it now to try and work out why some of us just sort of saunter around with COVID-19. I would be completely... if I got it, and I tell you, absolutely, I'm not kidding. But they're trying to sort of work out the differences between us so that moving forward we can develop better strategies. It's got samples from 500,000 volunteers. There are 15,000 scientists from around the world looking at this biobank. Hello, Paul. How's things in Colchester, sir? So 15,000 scientists looking at the DNA of 500,000 volunteers. Rocker Kev says hi, Crusher, because Rocker Kev used to listen when you were on Total Rock and Rock Radio Network with us, and no doubt in many of your other incarnations as well. And it's great to have you with us this evening. So we think that by drilling down on the old DNA, that we can try and sort this out. Not only it's got blood samples, it's got saliva samples and urine samples. But don't tell anybody. But what an extraordinary thing to have banked up. I know, but there we are. If it helps us, it helps us, and we'll try to know why this thing affects more people rather than others, and that will help us to crack it. Now, the Guardian, which some people call the Grawniad because they have this extraordinary reputation. Hello, Sharon, and hello, Gaia. Welcome to you both. We're in the living room. It's the start of week 4, but are we letting it get us down? No, we're not. We're rocking and we're happy.
Yes, we are indeed.
Absolutely. So restaurants, and the thing is, will we go back? Because we've already made the decision that we probably won't go back very much.
Not that often.
Especially because our favourite one, just before the lockdown, poisoned her. It did, and you were sort of completely laid out. And there was one, wasn't it, about 6 months ago that poisoned me, a different one, and I was very ill.
Yes, that's right.
So, and then today in the Daily Mail, there were photographs of a certain well-known pizza restaurant behind the scenes through the window. I'm not going to name and shame it, but there was the old staff, no masks, no gloves, and just opening a dustbin or something, and then doing a pizza. And whoa! So, so the Guardian, as I say, digs into this, and they wonder. They just wonder whether there are going to be differences in the community because of our changing habits, and they actually ask, whether restaurants will be the same again. And I don't know. Hello, Rodney. It's good to have you with us. It's been wonderful to have such a fine choice of cuisine and so forth. But as we get used to preparing dishes at home, and even I made an omelette the other day, didn't I?
Yes,
and we're still alive, and neither of us got ill. So that's quite a good thing. I wouldn't say it was kind of flavour of the century, but as we sort of learn to re-embrace family, home life, and doing things the way that people always used to do, maybe we'll actually like that. It's quite a nice bonding time, isn't it?
Yeah, and in terms of pizza, that's the easiest, the simplest thing to do. All you have to split the dough, a little bit of tomato sauce, and everything else, just to whatever topping you fancy, really. So
it's honestly no big deal, is it? Really, it honestly isn't. And then I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Great North Swim?
Oh, no.
Neither have I, but it's up north and it's great. And apparently it takes place at the very famous Lake Windermere in the Lake District every year. It was due to happen in the end of the first week of June, and that has been cancelled this year. And everybody who's entered gets their money back, and the competitors apparently can still claim a medal if they send a photo showing how they've managed to do something at home, which doesn't have to be swimming.
Oh, that's good.
I know, I want a
Keep
medal.
the spirit going. Yeah.
I'll do a jigsaw.
Okay.
Well, it says or another activity. It doesn't say or another physical
You
activity.
can climb the Everest by going up and down the stairs.
I think we've as we said the other day, we've way surpassed Ben Nevis going up and down the old stairs now at home. So I think Everest is probably maybe next on the radar. Yep. Snowdonia perhaps in between, I don't know. But we're definitely getting there. We're definitely getting there, and it's all good. Sharon is going for a bike ride before it gets dark. Hope that goes
Enjoy
well.
yourself.
And man, am I jealous. But do you know, I haven't been for a bike ride since this started, and I used to go on my push bike every single day, more or less, didn't I? Wind, rain, shine. I've got one of these umbrellas, which is a kind of see-through one, because there was a fad for these a while ago. So, of course, I went out and bought about 50 of the blooming things, because when you're cycling along, you can stuff it down the front of your coat and look out through this bit, and it's just like riding a car, really, but without the engine noise.
That's a skill I haven't mastered. No. You're the master of that skill. And yes, I was going to correct you. It's not just one umbrella. You have about 20 of those things.
At the very least. But they're only like about £1.50 in one of those cheap shops like Primark or something. I think they were in B&M, but whatever, so I just thought, yay. Now, Stansted Airport. And I saw this photograph today of. Do you know there are these websites that track flights, and you see all these things crisscrossing the
Yes.
screen? Well, there were two side-by-side photographs of one of those like a month ago, with all those crisscross patterns, and then one of them today showing the UK with just like one little Cessna coming into land or something. They've been doing a bit of crop spraying, so it was such a contrast. And if for the birds, obviously up in the sky, it's quite good because nothing will be hitting them, and and for the planet's ozone layer and whatever, it's probably quite good as well. There's probably lots of fresh air
Yeah,
out there.
that's right. Yes. Reset time for everything, for everybody.
So Rodney says, will people take the risk of opening a restaurant? It's a big risk anyway. It is, and now even more so.
Yeah, one of my
Totally
friends.
agree with you. And hello, Rodney.
I was helping one of my friends to put a business plan together for a new idea for a restaurant he had for this year.
Yes.
And now it's been shelved because we don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely shelved indefinitely, because we don't know whether sometimes people's habits change hugely. I mean, look at the high street and the out of town shopping, and everybody deserted the high street. It was just like coffee shops and hairdressers, wasn't it? Really, and nail bars and so
That's going to be interesting to know how reality is going to strike on the other side when we finish this. Everything is going to be changed completely. Restaurants going out, outings, probably cinemas is going to stay.
Perhaps. I mean, but the person rustling their popcorn, in front of you. Usually that's me. But it's so irritating. You want to clip them around the ears. But as yet, nobody has. But it may well happen. Hello, Anita. Thank you for joining us today. It's good to have your company. Stansted Airport car park with the empty skies we've got is being turned into the most ginormous drive-in testing centre for NHS staff. And their families, which is fabulous. We heard of a hospital in Cardiff earlier in the week where 50% of the frontline staff have tested positive for COVID-19, which is absolutely appalling because these guys haven't been protected, and they're honouring their Hippocratic oath, and they're going to work every day. They're saving scores of lives against all the odds without the right equipment, and it shouldn't be allowed to continue. And the sound bites on these press conferences, if there's anybody I want to punch, it's not just the guy eating the popcorn in the row in front of me, but it's actually me. But it's the guys up at these press conferences on these podiums making silly, vacuous announcements of things that are just frankly not true. There's more truth in Grimm's fairy tales than there are in these government announcements. And they really do need to pull their finger out, because we really are slipping behind. We are turning into the worst country in the whole of Europe for this, and it's a matter of great shame. In terms of the intensive care beds in England, we have 6.5 per 100,000 inhabitants. In Germany, they have nearly 30, and we're right languishing at the bottom of the scale. So I don't care whether we're Brexit or Exit or Hexit, but we need to get this sorted, and we need to put some money into this. And the people who, if people are putting their lives on the line to save ours, then for goodness sake, let's have them properly resourced.
Yeah.
Let's help them.
Right.
I mean, a hand clap is all very well, but let's start dipping into our pockets. And I don't mean our pockets, I mean the pockets of the government who've taken our money anyway to do it. And Boris, where's that 350 million a week?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been quiet today.
Well, he has, yes. Indeed. But he went round. I remember when he was going around on the plastered over the back of a bus. Now, Kevin has sent us. And hello, Stefania. Thank you for joining us this evening in our living room, where we're talking about the sort of happy side of things. Now, my very good friend Rocker Kev just sent us a link about a war veteran who is 99 years old, and he has raised £2 million for the NHS by walking around his back garden.
Oh gosh!
He set a goal of completing 100 laps of his back garden before his 100th birthday. That is just so absolutely incredible. He had originally planned to raise £1,000 for the NHS, but he launched his campaign only on the 8th of April, and he raised £70,000 in 24 hours. And he has extended the fundraiser. He hit the £1 million target on Tuesday morning, and has raised a further £1 million towards today. Wow. And that is so humbling.
You know, I passed that. Thank you very much for sharing that, Kevin. Honestly, we've been so busy today but this is a fantastic, fabulous story.
Absolutely,
Oh, it made me
that is the most
feel
wonderful story
proud.
I've seen since this whole outbreak. And there's a
Such a
picture of him
gentleman.
with his
Oh, bless
walking
him.
frame, hobbling around his garden. That is really really powerful and really really
What an achievement.
moving. Absolutely so. By total contrast, oh, hello, Ronnie. It's very good to have you with us this evening, and congratulations on your wonderful, wonderful news, which really touched my heart today. It was absolutely fabulous. Maxine, as well, welcome aboard. I'm going to tell you about a completely nothing to do with this virus thing, but it's just the funniest story I've seen for an awfully long time. A man accidentally ejects himself from a fighter jet at 350 miles an hour during a surprise flight. I mean, you can't make that up, can you really? But this was a fella who wasn't terribly keen on the idea, and his workmates clubbed together as a surprise and bought him this surprise trip. He shouldn't have been on it as well for health reasons anyway, because there was a medical thing to say that he shouldn't really be subjected to 3.5 G. But anyway, so they strapped him in quite loosely. During the takeoff, he stands up. To steady himself, he pushes the eject lever. Out he goes through the top, and now there's an inquiry all about this. He was okay, and so this happened. The report on this happened in March of 2019, but the report on it has just come out. It was in northeastern France. The fellow was okay. He kind of landed by parachute, but what an extraordinary thing. And the pilot,
dangerous thing.
the pilot managed to not inject. He managed to sort of abort his ejection and land the plane safely. But an extraordinary thing, really. And then there's this story about which we see today about a party with some dancing revellers, and the police were called and they attended, and it was okay. It was a street party in Hull, and we were kind of doing a video call with a fellow from Hull this morning with Steve, but anyways, what happened is that one of the fellas, it's a road called South Coates Avenue in Hull, and it was on Good Friday. And there was this fellow who was a school teacher, I think he was, Chris Marshall, who's his day job is a primary school teacher, but his evening job is spinning the old decks. So he put some loudspeakers in his front garden on Friday evening, and everybody was kind of dancing around in their front gardens, all separately, all at least 2 meters apart. So the police came along and made sure that everybody was doing what they should, and didn't, as some forces have been doing. They were not heavy-handed and everything. That they took a measured response to this, and they just sort of waved and drove off in the police car, which was absolutely the right thing to do. And we applaud both the DJ and the officers concerned for managing that ever so nicely. Why didn't we think of that? Huh? But we'll have to fling open the windows later. A very good evening to you, James. Welcome to our living room. Really, it's the first time you've been in our living room, as far as I know. And hello, Lisa, as well. We're talking about the happy side of this lockdown. We're doing this every day until it finishes. This is the first day of week 4, so we're looking at all the good stuff, all the happy stuff, all the funny stuff, all the encouraging news, and there's lots of it. And then we are bringing people to task, namely the government, when they're not doing the things that they promise on that podium as well. We're just kind of sliding those in and hope nobody notices except the decision makers whose job it is to do that. Now, Austria has started lifting some of its lockdown this week, and smaller shops, DIY shops and gardening shops are opening up again, and Poland is starting to ease its restrictions from Sunday. So you see, there is light at the end of the tunnel here, and it is all going to get better, and these things, trust me, are going to improve. We have turned the corner today, as I said at the beginning, because the number of deaths reported was 200 fewer than Good Friday, and that is such a great positive move. It's a fabulous achievement. It's a great step forward, and thanks to every single person in this country, we're getting this licked, and we're supporting our NHS heroes who are just legends. They are going out on a limb every single day. They're going into the front line and absolutely slaughtering this illness, and it's fabulous. Ill-equipped to deal with it, but with passion and dedication, and I cannot applaud them enough. Honestly.
They're doing such a humble work, honestly, considering that they have the lack of equipment, etc. So really they making us proud, and the least we can do is just continue to be indoors.
Yes, oh yes. And the first of those UK ventilators that we've heard about have started being delivered to hospitals, and these were like designed and whacked together in absolutely record time, I think you'll agree. And these were some of them from the Formula Run racing teams, because they're obviously not doing much of the other stuff at the moment. There are virtual Grand Prix and things going on, which there was one at the weekend, I think, wasn't there? But Mercedes, McLaren and Williams took part in that. So that's fantastic, and I think Dyson are doing one as well. So this is fabulous stuff. Ecuador, they've got that right idea. Why can't we do something like this? There was a firefighter there who extended his laddery thing right up to the top, climbed up 20 meters into the air, which is quite a long way, I think, and was playing his trumpet to all the locals and getting cheered and applauded and that sort of thing. That's a wonderful story. We want more of that kind of stuff. We certainly do. No question at all. No question at all. And there's an intensive care nurse. What a job that must be right now. But she's trying to lift the spirits of patients and of their loved ones by giving them matching fabric hearts. That's such a touching thing, because as we heard yesterday on this little outing, there are only very, very specific circumstances where people are actually allowed to visit their loved ones, and there are cases in care homes, for example, where the relatives are standing outside the window and pushing on the glass, and the people inside might not be quite aware due to their age and circumstances of kind of what's going on. So these are very difficult times for our carers, and we do appreciate them. And we want to appreciate them with pounds, shillings and pence, if you're as old as me, when this is all over, to show that it wasn't just a sort of vacuous hand clap, that we really do, as a society and as a country, appreciate the sterling work that they're doing. We've had a few new cases in China today, but most of those are imported, and they're catching them at the airport. And that's another thing we need to do. We can't have 3,000 Spanish football fans flying in from a hot zone. I mean, I love Spanish football fans, but wherever it happens to be, where there's a hot zone, or if it's Wuhan or whatever, we can't have them flying into the airport and just going, okay, if I go through. We need to test people. And I think otherwise all this lockdown is for nothing. You have to count them in and count them out. And these are big impingements on our civil liberties, aren't they? It's not, it's a big ask. And we saw in Hungary that the Prime Minister has used it as a power grab, and that he has taken he has abolished elections and given himself supreme power indefinitely. We cannot allow that. So we have to be ever vigilant, and we have to make sure that our responses to this are proportionate. But it is serious, and it is worth, for goodness sake, staying at home over Easter. I mean, is that really a big deal? Is that really a big deal? And I saw that in the space of a week, because of how this spreads, for every one person who stays at home, a month later, that's possibly 18 lives saved. And it's not a big ask. And some of these lives will be your relatives and mine. Now, another at the other end of the age scale, we saw that Kevin sent us a link about this fellow who was 99 doing laps of his garden. At the other end of the scale, there's a 7-year-old beaver scout. And nothing to do with Justin Bieber. This is Beaver with a V. He ran a marathon in his garden Easter Sunday, and he raised $4,000 for the NHS. He ran 420 laps of a 100-metre course in his garden over 8 hours.
Excellent. That's
which is
brilliant.
Pretty damn good. I'm going to go up and down the stairs 3 times tonight, so if anybody wants to send me a £5, it'll be greatly appreciated. There's been a £500,000 hardship fund launched for sports clubs and organisations from the voluntary and community sectors, which is fabulous. And every single body will be eligible to apply for a grant of up to £2,000 to help with the immediate impact of basically everything shutting down. I mean, like we were right in the just starting out our spring clean, weren't we? And we have got boxes in our hall piled up to the ceiling and beyond, ready for charity shops and stuff. There was a temptation to take them to the dump, but then that's closed as well. So we can't do that, and this is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because we were reading the advice on the website from this from the council-owned refuse tip, and the Cambridge one is ever so polite, and it says, due to the situation, we'd be awfully pleased and honoured if you wouldn't mind ever so much just hanging on to your stuff and taking it when all this is over. Hello, Russell. Haven't seen you for a couple of years. Hope all's good with you and your brothers. So they were so polite here in Cambridge, and then we went on to the Northamptonshire one. It said, "Stay at home, or we'll shove a sausage in your face."
No,
or words to that
doesn't
effect.
quite say that.
I'm paraphrasing slightly.
It's just a bit more straight, more direct.
It was more direct.
Closed.
But
what else?
It just said, "Closed. What are you going to do about it?"
Yeah.
And the answer, of course, is, "Well, I'll just stay home then. I'll just stay home." So there are apparently. It's not just us. There are lots of people hoovering up. I mean, it's as far as I know, it's just us doing it on Facebook here. I haven't seen anybody else, but there is an appetite for good news in this kind of environment. And in a normal week, there's an appetite for destruction, as evidenced by Guns N' Roses album. But at the moment, there's an appetite for good. Yeah, I don't mean going around smashing things with a hammer. I mean listening to Axl Rose and the bloke with the top hat / that kind of thing. We'll be doing more of that after this, actually, when we will be going live with our radio show. We're going to kind of try and make the transition in record time, because we haven't got any of the radio kits set up. So what will happen is, after this, Irma will be telling me what time to finish, and straight after this, I've got 20. Straight after this, we'll be rushing across to the other side of the living room, because it all happens in this living room, doesn't it, really? And we will be rushing across to the other side to assemble our radio kit, put on our headphones, and rock hard and rock heavy. And so if that's your kind of thing, then join us at 8 o'clock for that. And if it's not, well, God bless you. Apparently there's I didn't know this. I'll have to look that up for tomorrow's thing. But there's a thing online called the Good News Network, which is great, and they've seen their traffic triple over the last month. We've seen our traffic since we weren't doing any lives. Our traffic has gone up infinitely from 0 people to 2 in the space of merely a month, and it's very gratifying. And we're honoured that you would join us at home, actually, for this, because it's keeping us sane as well, isn't it? Really?
Oh yes, definitely.
It's definitely keeping things on an even keel, because we've got something to set our calendar to every day, and we're doing this, and we're going to carry on doing this. And I don't care if it's Christmas 2021, we'll be doing this every day, more or less, until this finishes, except when we've got a parcel delivered, or there's a phone call from my uncle, or that kind of thing. And it says here that and this is, I'm reading this off Al Jazeera, because we're not partisan here, we'll take news from anywhere and everywhere. So according to this, The Guardian, Fox News, HuffPost, MSN and Yahoo have all got little sections about good news. So guess what I'm going to be looking at just before we come on tomorrow, because I've been scrubbling around and getting these from just about everywhere. But it's all very good stuff. It's all very good stuff. And so I think everybody's taking this well, and I think compared to other crises in human history, it's a doddle, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a
that's
doddle,
right.
because people have been besieged in their city, and they've been, I don't know, eating petrol pumps, because that's all there is, to chew on the hose or something. That's all you've got to eat, that sort of thing. Or people have been sort of going over the top in the, well, I mean, look, I'm using metaphors. People going over the top of the trenches in the First World War. That was pretty grim, when the Sergeant Major said, "If you don't go up, I'll shoot you." And if you did go up there, the other side would shoot you. So kind of stuff like that. The medieval plagues and things, where people could just sit at home, really, and there was no telly to watch, and probably the poor folks didn't even have enough wood to burn enough fire. And here we've got our central heating and our Netflix and our this and our that. So we can't really complain. And I'm normally the biggest complainer in the world.
Yes.
But here I'm just thinking, look, it's just, what's the point? I've given up, and that is, but that's the only thing I've given up on. I've just given up on my customary sort of grumpy old man whinging, well, what do you know? Then the New York Times runs almost word for word the identical story, albeit written by somebody else, to Al Jazeera, saying there's a lot of good news out there, which we sort of worked out, really, I think. We sort of worked that out, and the numbers of subscribers to these things, and blah de blah de blah, the number of views, and so on, and they've got an even longer article than that. Now here's a good name, though. This is the top name. Somebody the New York Times quotes in their article, a fellow called David Beard. So which David? beard. So that just combines everything that is good about humanity and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter what he said, but he's the executive editor, apparently, for National Geographic.
Oh,
And
wow,
he just
you're
says,
famous.
good news is a good thing when we're stuck at home because it stops us, jumping out the window and all that kind of stuff, which is a jolly good thing because we can't get the window open at the moment because we've got all the equipment to do this lined up in front of it. So we can open the window that much. And when it comes to July, we'll have to work out a way around that, but we had to get this up and running very, very, very quickly. And because of the weekly radio show that I do, we had less than 24 hours, about 23 hours between the esteemed Mr. Boris saying stay at home and going on the air and saying rock and roll. So that was a bit of a thing. And I still, so I stuck all the gear there. It isn't quite working. So what I hear in my headphones is awful and almost impossible to do a show with because I hear this delay and it's all phasey and horrible and blah, 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 blah. But what's going out is good. So even though I only need to order a little piece of cable from Amazon for £1, I haven't quite got around to it yet.
No, you went absolutely.
And that is, kind of the way of these things, I guess. Yeah, only good news. And there are three online articles just telling you how the internet is awash with good news at the moment, isn't that? That's very gratifying indeed. But I think probably enough of all that tosh. But we will return and probably dip into some of the wonderful stories tomorrow because they are, and it's great that we're all pulling together. It's very good that everybody's kind of. Really, I haven't seen this. I mean, all this Brexit thing was so divisive, and it sort of split society in half. And Brexit and all that was a bad old thing. And now we've got another bad old thing, coronavirus, which is pushing us all together. So there we are. In adversity, mostly we do come together, and I'm not quite
because it's so widespread worldwide. I mean, we do get differences sometimes from time to time. Some people believe in theories and this that, and some of the people just joining the joy of being humans and of being alive every day.
Absolutely, because the Blitz is but a hazy memory in London in the 1940s for me. But my dad used to talk about it. And they used to have little sing-songs in the Anderson shelters and things, and sing along to Vera Lynn songs and such.
Oh.
We'll meet again. And Her Majesty quoted that in her first of the two addresses. And I'm sure that was a deliberate thing when she said, we will meet again. So we will. And we're sort of meeting now, aren't we, really? So kind of, if you're watching this now and you want to come around for a tea later, it's not likely to be for a few months, but you're very welcome, yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Super. And even a coffee. But don't push your luck. You're not having biscuits.
And nothing. Okay.
Oh dear. Have you got anything in your pearls of wisdom to
No, not today because it's a short program. I was going to do some kind of meditation, but basically you need to observe your thoughts. Basically, a lot of people there's over 250 different ways of meditating, different schemes, etc., etc. But basically, it's nothing else that observe your own thoughts. By observing your own thoughts and just capturing them, giving just a little bit of your time, and just see them, and then just let them go. How? By really running through your body in a mental image, and just let them go. Don't let them rule your life. They are your little monkeys in your head that you can just get rid of them and just move on. Just join the joy of being alive. Every day is different. Fantastic way of looking at your life and how you're going to create it going forward after this lockdown. That's my pearl of wisdom for today.
It's good, and I endorse that 150%.
Yeah. Let me just wind it up.
Yay. That means I get lunch tomorrow. Although I have to make breakfast now, do I not?
Yes, you do.
With my able assistant, but for the rest of the day, I become the assistant. We do a role reversal.
Yes.
Because I can't even scramble an egg. I don't know which way round to hold it. Oh, did you know? And here's something you can try at home. That with an egg, if you squash it sideways, it goes. But if you try and squash the egg lengthways, it's very difficult. Eggs are very strong.
Which reminds me, the first time I wanted to make myself a cup of tea in your kettle, I heard something rattling inside. What was it, Davies?
Well, that is a bachelor way of boiling an egg.
But you don't You're supposed to eat it, not even inside the kettle.
And you sort of put it in the kettle, but the thing is to try and remember it's there and then take it out and eat it. But obviously, when you're a kind of busy, absent-minded fella, you stick the 2 eggs in the kettle, press boil, and because our kettle's a bit dodgy, actually, we have to rest the teaspoon on the thing that pops up when it boils, because that kettle's seen better days, and then the teaspoon flies across the room when the kettle boils. But then, by then I'm upstairs doing something else, you see, and then about 3 days later I discover these hard things in the in the kettle, and I think they're the things to take the calcium out of the water or whatever. But you know how it is.
We're nearly done. Was that
Ronnie says she's having some tech issues today, but what she heard was great. Thank you very much for your company, and I hope you'll be in a position to join us in the for the rock show in the very near future. We won't be going on for much longer tonight because it took me such a long time to set up the kit after last week's live that I ended up going on the air 8 minutes late, which I've not very often done. Put it that way. I know, naughty boy. But our little radio station here in Cambridge, while we're on the subject, which I brought up, but anyway, 9 or 10 of our presenters are doing live shows from home now, and this has all happened over the space of the last couple of weeks, and they've all got, whether it's just a microphone or a loud hailer or whatever it is, it's quite extraordinary, and everybody else not a single show's been cancelled. Everybody else is pre-recording their shows from home. We've got our own Facebook group where we discuss all the sort of tech issues, and we've got some very knowledgeable people who kind of sort us out on there, and a particularly huge thanks to my friend Sam at the radio station, who got me up and running in a day. Maxine says, and hello Maxine, I gave my neighbours children Easter bags with lots of goodies. That's a very very nice gesture. Thank you for sharing that. We gave our son an Easter egg an awfully long time ago.
It was kind of a good thing.
While we were still allowed to visit him, and we also gave him, did we not, another little present, which is in short supply at the moment.
Oh, loo rolls.
We just had 2. This was before people started hoarding it. Come on. And we just had far too many. So we gave him about 45 loo rolls. And now, it's more valuable than life itself. So that was our good deed.
He was so grateful.
That, he was not, at the time, he goes like, what are you doing, guys? But now he's thinking, whoa. And so there we are. Give the one you loved a loo roll to show them that you care. And who would have thought of that? Who would have thought of that? That's the new currency, So now, for my birthday, I want nothing more than a 9-pack of extra. I was going to say crunchy, soft. They're not crunchy, are they? No. You can't make it up, can you? You can't make it up. But anyways, so we're in pretty damn good spirits. We hope that you are as well. We know, I mean, the worst days are the nice days outside, because when it's, I don't know, I was going to say blistery, I mean blustery. And when it's thundery and lightningy and torrential rain and all that, you don't really want to go out. But then when you look out, like today's been and everything, and you see the sunshine out there, and you just want to go out there and soak some of it up. On my little trip to the shops today, I was really disappointed because a young kid kicked a football over the fence. Now normally I'd just I'm not clever enough to kick it back, otherwise I'd do that. But I'd normally pick it back and do a header over the fence or whatever. But I thought, well look, I might have it, he might have it, so I just had to walk on by. When I came back from the shop, and the shop is literally like 100 yards from our door, and all I was buying was a bit of bread and some milk. So when I came back, the football had gone. So somehow that had either somebody nicked it, or he came and retrieved it. So all was well at the end of the day, and a good outcome. Hello, Michael. We're just coming to the end of things for today. A quick recap. I can confirm that the numbers of people who died, we seem to be turning the corner. 200 fewer people died today of this horrible virus than on Good Friday. So it's only a couple of days. It's only a couple of days. And I think that's quite a significant impact. And what we're getting now is, this thing takes 5 days before you get any symptoms. And then it takes 14 days to either recover or not. So we've got to the end of that now. And that's why it's starting to tail off a bit, because it's much harder to get these to get infected now. It's just physically much harder. I did hear today that there was a friend of mine who was standing for a long time in a supermarket queue, albeit 2 meters apart on crosses and things, but in quite a narrow lane. And sadly, she had this virus. Happily, she's recovered. But you know, in the supermarket, I'm not loitering. If there's a queue, I'm out of there. I'm just going to put the trolley there and get the good folks in the supermarket to put it all back again. Don't stay still. And because you know, not a very good idea. Not a very good idea. But I think with that thought, we will take our leave of you this evening. Tomorrow night we'll do another full length one. Sorry, it's a tad on the short side tonight, but I've got to twiddle my wires and knobs and things. So we've got the old. I'll tell you, we've got the old microphone here. It's ready to go for the show. That's the thing that we use during our sort of warm up sessions. And pulling the cover off the mixer, I see that it was on, because otherwise we'd have been talking to ourselves, which would have been ever so embarrassing. But somebody normally tells us when that happens. You always have a final thought to lay upon us from one of your many books of wisdom that you have.
See you tomorrow.
And oh la la! I'm gonna have to. I'll have to Google one then, won't I? I'll just Google wise quotes. And my goodness me, we're certainly ringing this tonight, aren't we? Good gracious me! There are people. These people with their TV shows and things. They prep those days in advance, don't they? And have teams of researchers and that kind of thing.
Right. Music is a good thing for as a therapy, right? So basically, listen to a song, unleash your inner child, and celebrate the feelings that this music gets to you. So you want to be in a good mood? Listen to that track that really ignites your power, your inner child. Do you want to be sad? Some people do. Just listen to it. But celebrate life, basically. What is your thought?
So here's my thought. Wise people speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something. And on that note, we'll say good night. Stay safe, stay indoors. We thank you so much for your company tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow evening. And yeah, if you're not doing anything, join us in about 20 minutes for the rock show, camfm.co.uk/player. I will post that link in the links. Take care now. And thank you once again.